I'm making part two of this next video. Um, I feel that the only way to really become what is of good in this world is that one has to let go of all the bad, all of the negativity that a person has inside of them. It's emptying out, what is in your own perception of who you think you are. It is letting go of, just the ego run mind, imagination that one has of themselves. Letting go of bad behavior, letting go of condescending attitudes, judging others from a place of cruelty, not being, connected to anything that is morally unsound, if it makes sense. Now, I'm not saying whether if you're a religious person or if you're a secular person, I'm not even speaking about things in a way that is premeditated judgment. I'm speaking from, a way of wisdom. And, the way to let go of everything that is holding on to what is a contaminated, way of energy, behavior that comes off as contaminated, the way that one can speak in a way that represents detriment speech. When we cuss at each other in very, vile type of representation that is in our words, we feel at the end of the day dirty inside, because how you speak and how you act, it all is a factor on how well you are actually in the light that is above. You know what I mean? And the thing is, light is something that everyone wants to attract. Something that represents something that is good in essence. Something that is, not measured by one trying to look like they're better than others, by trying to be how good, more so than they see somebody else and how they feel that person that they're seeing, how good they are. And then trying to be, well, I want to be this good, so people will see that there is something about me that is different, that is not like the rest of whoever. But I'm not going to say that it's trying to prove something. Don't try to do things that are good to get recognition. Don't try to be, pleasing other people just so that they'll like you. You know what I mean? It's about doing what is right. God wants us to do what is right. He doesn't want us to do what is of us getting some sort of recognition because of doing good behavior. That's not really being someone who is walking in the light. You're just walking in self-righteousness of your own self. How many people that actually say the most kindest words? How many people that they speak about love and they speak about God so profoundly, so proficiently, with saying that they'll do anything to try to be like the one that is more powerful than even the brightness of the sun in the sky. We talk about God, people wanting to be, doing things that are from the heart of serving, but yet they would never give even a single $5 bill to a person that just needs $5 to go buy him a drink and some chips, because that person who needs $5 is hungry and starving. And you see people don't want to even help other people. And I'm not saying that they are obligated to. I'm just saying people have resources that are very basic, and they speak about helping others, but yet they say it in a way that is just metaphoric, like it's allegorical type of speaking. But it's not literal that they would actually give somebody money to so that they can buy something to eat, a snack, or just something to keep them hanging by during the day with food in their stomach. Let me just emphasize this, because I'm also speaking about even my own self. This is just really bringing forth the deep questions about life, about mortality, and where it rains and where it shines. I want to just say this, and I want you to feel me when I say this. How many people would actually go out of their way if there was a child or if there was an elderly person that fell off of the platform onto the tracks of where a train pulls in? Let's say particularly like in Manhattan, or even in like Illinois, for an example, Chicago. You think of the major cities where there is trains coming by. How many would actually jump to save a person's life and willing to risk their own life to save another person? To actually commit an act of kindness and sacrifice, and willing to lose their own life if it meant saving another. Now, there are people who have done such, don't get me wrong, but how many people would actually die for a stranger, potentially, or risk their own life in trying to save a stranger? I think in nowadays, you don't really see that. People are afraid to confront, bullies that are physically assaulting innocent bystanders. And it's because we've been conditioned to really protect our own life at all costs. We have been conditioned to not do anything because of stereotypes, because of, how the media has, conditioned people to be, in a state of scarcity. If someone is doing something completely wrong to another, the first thing is to intervene and to, stop something that could be as a weapon being used against another person. It doesn't mean that we should automatically hurt physically a person that is putting a particular company in danger, but we should try to do what we can to withhold that danger from spreading in a negative way. See, I don't believe in violence, but I do believe if it came down to saving someone's life, you have to do what you got to do in some cases. And it's very hard, because I know that Jesus says to not to shed blood, but to share the gospel that is of love, the love of God. And what would you do if it came down to a child's life, an elderly person's life, a person that was a mother, a father, a brother? How would you intervene to save that person's life if someone was threatening it? These are some of the very difficult questions, because I look at life's lessons as, understanding, doing anything from a place of wisdom rather than a place of just one's own fight or flight instinct. I want to just say this. Where is the love that is truly connected to other people in such a very deep way? Most people in this world hate each other. That's the sad thing. I mean, if you look at a restaurant where, let's take a look at a setting where people are all wearing very high fancy, type of dressing, that they're all gathered wearing suits and ties, and they're wearing watches that are very expensive, and wearing carat diamonds. and a person comes in there who's not dressed very elegant and fancy, they're just dressed casual, and they're told that they're not welcome there, even though they're wanting to be a patronizing customer. They're a human being, just like everybody else that is dressed a certain way. They're denied entry, and they're told that they cannot sit at any table, or they cannot sit at any seating because they don't look a certain way. Imagine being told that you're less of society because you're not like certain other people of society. Now we know that there are dress codes for certain positions in this world that have to do with status, and we know that not everyone could afford what is tied to very high status in certain jurisdictions of society. But everything is based on how you look. Everything is based on what you could offer as far as, what is going to benefit someone else. And most relationships, they're very transactional. It's based off what you can give, not what you can get a lot of the times from others. And I don't base my integrity on any of these type of, orders that are from the world. Any of these belief systems, I don't put myself in any bracket whatsoever. The way that I look at myself is trying to do what is the will of God, how I can serve other people, how I could live to just be a humanitarian, not by just doing things that are good works, I call them, but a humanitarian at heart, meaning that sharing my heart to another person's heart, meaning that the things of struggle, the things of feeling like one needs to be loved, is showing them love with the love that I haven't received from anybody. That sort of void of not having love, I can turn then what I can make from what is of love, that is from the heart, and give that to another person to show how much that there is value and that there's hope in you if you're a person that is down and that is stuck in this world. And I look at it like also becoming a humanitarian would be if there was a person who was a very smart, intellectual, wise person standing next to a person that may be ignorant, that may be unintelligent, that may have not read, many books, that have not listened to many commentaries on many subjects about social studies of the world, of spiritual insight, or just, anything to do with what is to do with education of this world. A wise person would just probably normally see himself as having nothing in common with a person that is not wise, a person that is just unintelligent because of not having the proper education or sophistication. A wise person would just judge and see that person as inferior and see that person as a separate other type of human being versus the person who is wise, intelligent, and fluent. But I would actually do what I can to offer intelligence to a person who is not wise. And what I'm trying to say is, I'm not talking about like I'm going up to a person and belittling them because of, let's say, a person who is unintelligent. I'm not speaking in that way. I'm saying that me who has something that someone doesn't have, I would offer something that I have to give to that other person so that other person can be on a greater level of just awareness of themselves. And if they don't have, let's say, proper shoes on their feet, I would give them the shoes on my own feet so that they can put on their own feet to wear if it came down to it. If someone is lacking understanding and discernment of this world, I would offer what is of my discernment, of what is of my intelligence so that they could have intelligence, so that they could rise above, so that their struggle is not simply to where it is against them, that they could actually fight against their struggle by them having the intelligence that someone offered them as a way of showing love to them. You see, the rest of the world mostly looks at people who are unintelligent as being unimportant, as being where they're labeled as they're low functioning order of people of society. They're low disorder functioning people of society. That's how I was trying to say it. But what you do with a person that doesn't know himself, you help them to know themselves. You offer them a way to where you can give them something to where they have the power to give back. And your love and helping them grow and praying over them and giving them what is of knowledge that you could offer. And it's not your knowledge, it's the knowledge that comes from God, but it's shaped in your personality of how you're able to express something that is relatable to you. And it's coming out of you, like whatever knowledge you have is coming out of you in the way that looks like your identity. But ultimately, it's God who gives knowledge. And you got to share that knowledge with someone that doesn't have that knowledge so that they could actually find a way to grow and to elevate. It's not about putting down someone of any kind. It's not putting, a specific class that is of individuals higher than other individuals. It's not looking at that. It's looking at we are all on this planet. We are all in this trajectory. We are all wanting to evolve. Some evolve in different ways of status, and because of the world's education system has got them to certain places quicker. But what about, not the education that you have that you can use as a platform, but what about using just your own self, your own dignity, your own worth, your own understanding, your own experience of who you are to gravitate others into the things that you know just of yourself, into bringing them into where they can then help themselves. You help them so that they can help themselves. See, that's what love is. And sharing them about this world, telling them that God has love for them and God wants to save them. God wants to save even someone like myself. God wants to use powerful minds to help the weak and to help the innocent grow into strength. How many people you actually are seeing that are wanting to do that from one to another? How many people do you know would actually open up their homes and let a stranger off the street to have a place to lay their head on a bed and to give them warm food, to give them shelter? I know that there are people out there that do exist that have done that, but how many people do you actually see that would actually open up their own refrigerators and to give the food that is theirs to strangers who are hungry? How many people do you actually see welcoming people that look different from them? You have so much hatred because of people looking at other people of what they look like physically. You got racism that people, they invertedly, act in a way that is just ignorant prejudice. And they would look at a person that's not like themselves and not help them. I'm saying specifically, you have a lot of, those that are very rich, unfortunately, those that are very wealthy, that come from a wealthy, privileged, almost background, and they look at themselves as being in this privileged mindset to where they would look at somebody that's not like them and disregard them or be afraid of them because of a stereotype. And how many people do you see would let go of their pride fully to where it's really about doing the right thing? How many of us actually really, really do the right thing without asking for a reward to come back to us in any shape or any form? And I'm not speaking about the world as if I'm not speaking about myself on just different things. I'm speaking about, what God has showed me is how to show sacrifice, how Jesus showed himself as being a sacrifice when he didn't want to go to the cross to die, to have his blood being shed. He asked his Father in heaven, God, to take the cup from him, and God said no, and Jesus says, not my will, but your will. I'm not trying to be preachy in a way that I'm saying this. I'm just speaking the very facts. It's not what you have on the outside, it's what's on the inside that really, where people can't see, is who you really are. Your treasures aren't just the things that you have in front of you, like gold and silver. It is, the humanity that's inside of you. How much of light does that humanity shine? Think about it.